Hey everyone, welcome to the special edition Comic Frontline Live. We're calling this Zenescope Live. It's an e-panel featuring the
I
talents of Zenescope.
Jay, I called it Zenescope e-panel too.
Okay. We're with the creators of Zenescope Comics. I've been pronouncing it wrong, and I'm sorry for that. We have Mike Spider Slayer from Comic Book Corner 2.0 with us.
What's up, everyone? Welcome.
Kat, Comic Uno.
Hey, guys.
Apologies if the camera's slow.
Chris, Dark Avenger C86.
Hey, everybody.
And with him is Cindy, Chocolate Pancake Ninja.
Hello.
And now for our guest of honor. For our guest of honors, we have from Zenescope Comics, Pat Chan. Pat?
Hey, how's it going?
Want to introduce yourself? Let everybody know,
Yeah.
a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm Pat Shan. I'm Red. I write Robin Hood, Helsing, Grimm Fairy Tales, and some other books. And I want to thank you guys for having me. You're awesome. I've been loving Zenescope Week, and thanks.
Great. Jeff Massey.
Hey, how are you? Oh, hey.
Got the camera.
That's not me. Yeah, so I'm Jeff Massey. I'm working on Warlord now, Warlord of Oz, and did a little bit for the Toto story in the backup from Tales from Oz before.
Cool.
Age of Darkness, Oz, that kind of stuff.
Next we have Larry Watts.
Hey, how you doing? Is that you?
You want to tell them what you're working on right now for Zenescope?
I'm working on Robin Hood Legend currently. We're wrapping up the trilogy.
Okay. And next we have Meredith Finch.
Hi, everybody. I have done only 2 books so far now for Zenescope. One that's been published and one that is coming out this July. And the one that came out in February was Tales from Oz, The Cowardly Lion story. And I have Grimm's Fairy Tale Swimsuit issue coming up. So, just in time for summer.
Yeah.
And finally we have Tony Brescini. Is that correct how you pronounce your name?
It's pretty close, actually. Nobody ever gets it right. But yeah, my name's Tony Brescini, and I'm currently drawing the Helsing series, Zenescope, and I did the first half or so of the Asylum series.
Cool. Alright, we got a few questions for you. Mike, you want to start off with the questions?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off with Pat. Pat, there's a question here. You recently got a new position at Zenescope. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. A few months back, I became editor at Zenescope, and I'm currently working with some writers and awesome artists to make books that I'm not writing happen. Now, I'm currently the line editor on Wonderland, so all the books under that banner will be edited by me, and I'm also editing some of the Age of Darkness titles, and a cool one that actually I wanted to speak a little bit about that I'm going to be editing is called Goddess Inc. It's the sequel to our, not even the sequel, it's sort of it's the natural and new beginning of our Godstorm series.
I thought so.
Godstorm, what was that?
I thought so when I saw it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know that you guys love Godstorm, so that's really, I definitely want to talk about that with you guys. I've loved the support that you've given the title because not many people buy Godstorm, so, to the point where it's now being rebranded as Goddess Inc. It's being written by Latoya Morgan, and she's a writer from Shameless and AMC's Turn, and she's doing an awesome job. So it's been great working that side of now there's like some of these guys, and awesome artists like some of these guys, onto books that I am not even writing. So it's been a whole different arena, but it's been fun.
Nice. And then I got one more question for you, and then I'll let some of the others go down the line. I love Robin Hood. I know I pretty much got everybody here on Frontline into Robin Hood, and
Awesome.
and you know, and now I love Red Riding Hood too, or Code Red. Really great series. What made you go with those characters when you first started with Zenescope?
All right. Well, with Robin Hood, it was an assignment that I was given that is, and I just something about the character connected with me. I was able to very much develop the character from scratch. We had a very loose outline of where it was going, and Joe and Ralph were kind enough to sort of let me take it where I wanted to go. And I pretty much, after seeing issue 2, which is the first one that Larry drew, that's what really gave me insight into who this character was, because when I look at Larry's art, that's when I see who I picture as the true Robin, and that's seeing Larry's art and my writing just work so well together, really connected me to the character in a way that's deeper than what I normally feel, I guess. And with writing, with Red Riding Hood, it was just fun. I really liked the idea of a very pulpy kind of Quentin Tarantino-y Robin Hood versus Red Riding Hood. You know, just the title is really just ridiculous.
Right.
And that was my first real desire to write the character. I wrote Red Riding Hood before in an issue called Grimm Universe #2, but she was very much a supporting character in that book. And I used that book to sort of set up the conflict of Robin versus Red. And then in writing that one, I got a taste of writing Red. So when the time came to hire someone to write Code Red, Joe offered it to me, and I said yeah, because it was very much Code Red again is less of a Red Riding Hood book and more of a sort of solo Realm Knights book. You know, because it's very much about the Realm Knights organization and stuff. So that was it was kind of a natural step for me to that book.
Yeah, they're very good. I really enjoy them. I like the personalities of both characters, and you know, hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of them in the future as well.
I hope so too.
All right. I want to ask Larry a question, kind of playing off the Robin Hood stuff. What's it like working with Pat Shane? Like, what's your working relationship? Do you like have any input into what's going on, or do you say like this could be a cool panel? Do you have like your choice of paneling, or is it like Pat Shane says, you know, this is the story, I would like it like this? Like, how close are you two in working to bring this together, Larry?
You know, maybe too close. We talk quite a bit, actually, when we're working on the book. So, yeah, I mean, every once in a while he let me throw some ideas in there. Like the Zombie with Scarlet came from a discussion we had. So, you know, we talk a lot. We see each other a lot at shows, too, so we can kind of hash things out. And, you know, maybe we probably talk too much.
That's cool. All right. The next, Kat, you have any questions?
Yeah, actually for the whole panel, I want to ask. So I'm a real big TV fan. So for Once Upon a Time, Grimm, and all that, does that give any influence of how popular those shows are and have like Grimm fairy tale spins on regular characters that we know? You know, does that affect your books in any way? So, Jay, you could go down the panel to ask, like, for everyone to answer that if you want.
All right. We'll start with right down here. We'll start with. I'm trying to. All right. We'll start with Pat Shane, actually.
Okay, sure. Honestly, none whatsoever. I've never seen the show. I've seen a few trailers. I don't really have any interest in it because I'm already so immersed in what we're doing fairy tale wise that it's kind of fairy tale me out. I like what we're doing, so I don't really want to see what anyone else is doing with modern fairy tales because it'll kind of I don't fear that it'll influence me, but I just have no interest. So I'll say no, but I do hope that people who like that like our stuff too, because that's a large audience. So yeah, I'm sure it's a great show, and I'm sure that the people that are doing it are awesome. But no.
Okay. Jeff, how about you?
No, I don't really follow any of the TV stuff right now. I've got 2 kids under 3. I barely can stay ahead of my writing schedule. So
your fairy tales are like PBS fairy tales.
Pretty much. But if you see Curious George starting to show up in my scripts, you'll know why.
The fairy tale of Dora the Explorer.
Please no. Please no.
Never.
Larry, how about you? Like maybe your designs, your art designs?
What was the question?
How does the right now there's like a insurgence of fairy tales in the pop media like TV with Grimm and Once Upon a Time and Wonderland that just got canceled actually.
That's not a good. That's not a good thing that got canceled.
Well, it was still out there though.
Right,
does any of that like influence your work with these similar characters? Because you know like. Your work in Robin Hood, they have a Robin Hood that's totally different, by the way, than your Robin Hood.
You know, not really. I haven't really seen too many of the shows.
Okay.
I don't really get a chance to watch too much TV. But, yeah, I checked out the Robin Hood series on BBC a little bit, and just to kind of, like, get an idea of how people dress in the medieval times. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't really follow too many of those shows.
All right. Meredith.
I was just going to say, apparently the only person who watches those shows is Channel. And I'll be honest, the only one we really watch, that I watch with my kids, is Once Upon a Time. But I think what they've done with the stories on TV is try to keep them central to the characters that everybody in the mass market knows and loves. So they tend to veer much, and especially because the Once Upon a Time stories are done by Disney, right? ABC is owned by Disney.
Yes.
So they really do steer much closer to those characters being who we grew up with. And the great thing about what Zenescope is doing is they're really taking those characters and reinventing them, where you have Robin Hood as a female instead of a male. And like what we've done with the Snow White character and the Red Riding character, like they've just taken those stories and ideas and fairy tales and given them more of an edge, and I think given them an appeal to a totally different audience and to a different market.
I agree with that. Tony, your opinion?
I'm gonna have to pretty much parrot what everybody else just said, and I haven't seen those shows either.
Right. So Meredith is the only one who watches TV. That's not PBS related.
Yes, or children related, I guess.
My kids are older. My 10-year-old doesn't want to watch Dora anymore.
I would love to watch TV, so if someone wants to buy me cable, I'll gladly watch Once Upon a Time.
Hulu, Netflix, there's no excuse anymore.
I've been
Pat's
through
a spy.
I've been through
Pat's
with
a
that.
spy
She's been
for
trying to
Apple.
get me to watch TV for years.
I am. I'm a spy for Apple, television,
Netflix
so
and all that. Cat's the Incorporated spy, so
I
don't worry about her.
I'm like a little
Chris.
advertisement in this panel, so don't worry.
Chris, do you have any questions?
I actually do. For Pat, I want to know what Sealer's role is going to be in the future with the Grimm Fairy Tales universe during and after issue 100. There was a question next
Sure. Yes, Sheila is. I can feel confident saying that she's still part of the story. I mean, she's been the face of the company for so long, you know. She's the lead character of Grimm Fairy Tales. She's probably one of our most recognizable characters. So she's still going to be in the book. But I have also been teasing that with Grimm 101, there's an almost entirely new cast, and I do mean that, in that we're starting pretty much from scratch and starting a brand new story arc. It doesn't mean that what happened before doesn't count, because it does.
Okay.
But I think there's going to be a lot more focus on the new and going forward than dwelling on the storylines that we've been developing for years now. You know, because Age of Darkness and Realm War, especially Grimm 100 and Realm War, are the climax of what we've been building on for years. So we thought instead of stretching that out and having Realm War sort of cast a shadow over all of our titles for 12 months, we're going to move on with our other titles and have Realm War tell that story and wrap up that storyline, and the other books will just move on. So Sela will definitely still be part of it, but I really can't say...
Can't go too into detail.
Yeah, like, her role won't be the same. She's definitely changing in a major way, and her role as Guardian of the Nexus is changing in a major way. But I can't say how. But as soon as 101 hits, you'll see. It's the new story begins out of the box. You know, fresh out of the box. So it's coming soon.
Gotcha. And I also have a really quick, this is a question actually I had today. I was at work and I was thinking about it. I have a friend who wanted to start reading Zenescope, and I mentioned the big sale that's going on. He's like, well, what book should I look up? And every time I mention Godstorm first, and then I bring up a whole bunch of other books. And then he says, is Godstorm a miniseries or is it an ongoing? I said, well, it's Volume 1. We're in Volume 2 right now. Hercules Pain Issue 2 just came out this Wednesday.
Great series. Recommend it.
Absolutely. But I was thinking, you know, especially with Goddess Inc. coming out, is there any plan possibly for the future in making Godstorm a Mango series? Because there's a lot of stories that are possible with, especially with Zeus, provided he doesn't kick the bucket.
Well, you know, here's the thing about Godstorm. Godstorm sells like shit. You know, no one buys Godstorm. So the only way that we can keep it going is to have a #1 every few months, because people just don't buy it. I can't imagine seeing a Godstorm #8 that would sell like 200 copies. You know, unfortunately.
I don't see why it doesn't.
No,
that's what I'm saying. I don't see how it doesn't sell.
Is awesome. Greek mythology is awesome.
Yeah, and there's so many people that are into it.
I mean, that's what I think too, but unfortunately, that's not the.
All right, so we just have to pimp it out more. We have to pimp it out more.
Trying to push it though, you know, like with Latoya coming on, she's a great writer, and hopefully she'll bring some of her fans, because she's such a great and experienced writer. I think that her writing will hopefully draw some new readers in. So there's always a chance, you know, because when I wrote Godstorm 1, I went right into Unleashed with the plans to finish that story and to have the gods done. And then I got the chance to do Ascension and sort of wrap up that story with like a nice little bow. And then the story kept going. Joe wanted more and more Godstorm, and I was surprised because I was told we wouldn't ever get to do more. And now we have Hercules Pain, we have Goddess Inc. So it seems that there's more and more and more. So hopefully one day there'll be an ongoing, but I can't see it happening. But yeah, that'd be great.
All right, Cindy, you have a question.
Yeah. This one's for Meredith. And how's the team up of you and your husband going for Wonder Woman?
I don't know that David and I are doing Wonder Woman.
Oh,
I would love to talk about what I'm doing with Zenescope, though.
Okay. All right, Cindy's a big Wonder Woman fan. That's why she wanted to know that.
I don't know that the new creative team of Wonder Woman has been announced. As of right now, I'm not sure who it is.
Okay.
This one's for the whole panel. What made you guys go into writing or drawing comics?
You want to start down the line?
We're going to start with Jeff.
Jeff?
Sure. Well, I'm actually an English professor, So I do a reasonable amount of writing in a different medium most of the time. But I got into this because, I'm a monstrous geek who's well over his age for entry into the comic books profession. And Pat was a student of mine. And for whatever reason, he decided that to make up for falling asleep in all my classes, he'd pick it up. And so that's how I kind of fell into this.
So that's how you
a dream, quite frankly. I mean, no sarcasm whatsoever. I'm tickled to pink about this, but it's not something that I terribly well planned. But I'm very happy to be writing here now.
Cool. Larry?
I think everybody when they're growing up wants to draw comic books. But I've always loved comic books, even when I was little. So I remember like the first comic book I bought with my own money. It was the Image launch. Bought all the titles across the board. And, ever since then I've always wanted to draw comic books. But I kind of took a break from them in my 20s and went into advertising instead. But one of my roommates one day came home with a bunch of comic books and they were really good and just kind of fed that beast and it's just been comic books ever since. Probably like 4 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome. Meredith, how about you?
I'll be honest, my husband pushed me into it. What a surprise.
He forced you into it.
I love to write, and it's one of those things that I've done over the course of my life as a way of just dealing with difficult times or challenges. And last summer, a girlfriend of mine was in a very serious accident and ended up breaking her neck. And I did some writing about it, and David read it and said, "This is ridiculous. I don't know why you're not working." And he went after Raven. And the rest is two-story history.
Oh, that's cool. Great support from your husband.
Yeah.
Pat.
I was writing short stories for a long time. I used to write a lot of fan fiction. I loved Goosebumps from R.L. Stine as a kid. So I had a little typewriter, and I would write little horrible one-page sequels to all those books my whole life. And then I started writing my own novels and my own short stories. And eventually I got really into comics. I got really into talking to people and trying to weasel my way into the industry. And then finally it worked. And I started writing some comics. I wrote for IDW. I wrote for Titan. And then when I got linked up with Ralph Tesco from Zenescope, it just clicked very quickly. And Raven Gregory helped me out. And eventually I just started writing a lot of books for Zenescope. And here I am. Yeah.
All right. And Tony, how about you?
Well, I've always drawn. And I went to school for illustration and animation, and then I had kind of a roundabout way into comics. I was doing freelance illustration out of college for quite a few years, and then always wanted to do comics, but it just didn't seem to work out. At the time, it was never good, and I broke my hand playing basketball, and had a pretty major surgery, and I ended up working in a Parks and Rec job for about 7 years, and it's kind of like the TV show. And after that, and then my wife got a job offer to move to London, so I quit the Parks and Rec job. We moved to London, then moved to Singapore, and I kind of treated that time as like going back to school, did a lot of life drawing, and I kind of studied up on comics, and we moved back to the States. Zenescope got a hold of me and asked if I'd like to start drawing stuff, and just kind of went from there.
That's awesome. We have a question from a viewer, Red Vice DO4. After the Robin Hood Legend story arc, are there any more coming up story arcs for her? So I would feel that to Pat and Larry.
I think that Massey should answer that question.
Yeah, I can say, knowing absolutely nothing, that that's 1,000% sure. I got nothing, man. Nothing.
All right. I will say, I actually spoke in an interview recently with Geekality, and I was being very candid because they asked me about the possibility of Robyn dying at the end of the trilogy, and I told them that there's no possibility of that. Not to spoil anything, but as a fan, as a reader, and I've been wanting to clarify this quote. The idea of Robyn's story, of Robyn's redemption and empowerment, ending in her death and the end of her role as a character is offensive. You know, so she's absolutely not going to die, and there will 100% be more Robin Hood stories. I can't say when and I can't say where, but you should probably look at next week's previews.
Okay, the next question is from Warren Alexander, and he wants to know, I want to start getting some Zenescope books, but I don't know, wait, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. I don't know where to start. Do the books tie into each other, or can I just start anywhere? Anybody want to field that question for them?
Sure. I actually will seriously pass to Massey about this in 2 secs, because my favorite example right now is I was tweeted about the Warlord of Oz series. It came out this past Wednesday, if I'm not horribly mistaken. Number
Yes,
one
right,
did.
right here.
And it is the second volume of the Oz series, and what we do at Zenescope is make sure that every new number one is 100% accessible to new readers. And someone tweeted at me asking if they have to read Oz Volume 1 before reading Warlord, and I said absolutely not. I mean, you should, because it's a good book, but Warlord and all of our number ones and all of our single issues that have a standalone story should and will be 100% new reader friendly. And I think that Massey could talk a little bit about how he's able to start in the middle of a story, essentially, while also being friendly to new readers.
Well, I can try. And certainly that's something we try to do, I guess. I think Meredith might have spoken to this a bit. The idea that Zenescope characters are very familiar and yet very different at the same time. You don't have to know the backstory, I think, from the last arc to sort of pick up on the basic characters that we've got in front of us. It's Dorothy. You know enough about Dorothy going into it to follow along with anything she's going to do at that point. The dynamics between the characters, you try to give them really quick, reintroductions. In Warlord, it's out now, so there's no spoiler here. We get a lot of characters finding each other after a brief absence, I guess. And so you get to do those very quick, punchy, hey, how you been? Oh, I've been good. Really? So, are you doing this? No, I'm not. I'm doing this other thing. Oh, that's good. And so I'm hoping that kind of dialogue pulls the characters, their basic background, their motivations, why they're doing what they do and who they do what they do with, for new readers as well as for those who read the first 6. I think that's the hope.
And I've always said about Zenescope comic books, they're so new reader friendly. Any story you pick up, you can just pick it up and get right into it. You always write for the new reader, but for the old reader as well. And I mean that's something you don't see that much in comics anymore. Normally, it's either too new reader friendly or it's just too trenched in continuity that you can't get into it. But Zenescope seems to balance it correctly.
I totally want to agree with that because I just started reading Zenescope myself, and I started out with Robyn Hood Legends, and I thought, even though maybe I was a little confused on some characters, it was very new reader friendly, and it got me to read other Zenescope titles. So definitely want to agree with that and say that I was a person that started out with not a first volume but a third volume.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that there. One of the things that I know Chris was pointing out too is, what you guys do all the time on each of your books is you always do a brief introduction on your book about what happened in the last story or what the universe is about, so the reader has an idea of what, Fairy Tales is about, or, Oz is about, or any of these other issues, and what happened in the last issue. And then at the end of the issue, you also show a brief description of what possibly is to come. And I think that helps a reader and goes a long way, for sure. I mean, helps me, at least anyway.
If I could also say, sorry, Jay.
No, that's all right.
Say people should pick a character that they just want to read about. If you're gonna pick, it doesn't matter if you had the first story or the third story. If you pick a book that looks visually interesting to you and it's a story that you think is gonna be exciting and interesting to you, it's like watching a TV show. You can pick up halfway through a season, and within a couple of episodes, you're gonna know what's going on. Same with comics. By the end of the first comic, or by the end of your second comic, you're going to know what's going on, and you're going to know if you really fit with that character and that character speaks to you, or if they don't, and then you can just either move on to something different, or you'll already be involved in whatever story is going on.
All right, we have a question that's I'm going to field over to Jeff because it involves Warlord of Oz. Grimm Fairy Tales Warlord of Oz is interesting. How do you guys come up with that idea of Dorothy and friends growing up and using the things that they wished for? How did that concept come up?
I'll do a small dodge on this one and throw it to Joe, who's not here, since he's the one who comes up with many of the very big ideas that go on in this series. Pat, how do these things come up in the big master meetings that you guys have?
Well, what's funny is I think today is a great day to talk about that because I was on the phone with Ralph and Joe for like 5 hours today. We see the publishing schedule, and I get a call from Ralph saying, Shand, we got to get Brush on the phone. And then a few days later, Ralph and Joe and I are on the phone for hours talking about stuff. I can freely announce today that we have our series Tales of Terror coming out. Issue number 1 is currently in previews. That's written by Ralph Tedesco. Issue 2 is going to be written by Shane McKenzie. And issue 3 is written by Meredith, who's on the panel right here. And today, Ralph and Joe and I were talking about the story for that one, and some stories for some other yet-to-be-announced books. So yeah, it's very much, it's usually the three of us talking about story, but more recently we've been writing looser plot outlines for mostly our miniseries. Our one-shot outlines are pretty outlined, but as far as our miniseries like Warlord, it'll start pretty decently fleshed out and then get looser and looser because we don't want our writers to just do what we say. We want the writers to add their own twists and add their own flavor and voice to these books.
What? You tell me this now?
So if you read Warlord, it's very Massey. You know, it still makes sense continuity-wise from the first volume, but it's very Massey. And I've found that's the best way to do it. You know, leave it open for the writers to add their own style.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Mike, you have another question you want to ask?
One was a group question. One, I actually got two. One brief one. I was a fan a while back of sci-fi fantasy. Pat, I don't know if you knew about the series, but I know it was like a quarterly series. Is there any plans on bringing that series back by chance?
No. No. That'll be nice, but I think that book sold to me, Ralph, and Joe. Yeah, I mean, that was before my time.
Right. Yeah.
But it's one that I've asked about, and Raven Gregory pretty much told me that for us, sci-fi doesn't sell.
Really, I liked it. Just to let you know, I liked it.
Thank you. I mean, like, I have the issues. You know, I think that the books were good, and I know that the comic market was very different at that time too. So I'm not sure now. You know, like maybe with Saga, sci-fi is more popular now. I have no idea. But as of now, there are no plans. We're a little bit scared of sci-fi right now.
I gotcha. Understand. And then there's a group question that I had as well. I know there's always these projects that come out that maybe didn't work out so well, and this is for the group. Is there anything in particular that you said, hey, well, maybe we shouldn't have done this? So maybe if you guys would like to answer that, that would be great. Because you know, there's always things that you're like, oh man, I don't know if we should have done this, if didn't sell or whatever. So kind of interested in that. So if you want to go down the line.
All right, we'll start with Tony this time.
I started with Jeff, and he does Tony this time. Oh, you're killing me, Dave.
Dave's trying to switch it up.
I'm trying to switch it up so, you know, people get fair chance.
He's being a good moderator.
I thought you were going to say a good mother. I was about to go.
A good mother, yeah. That would be a whole different panel.
So something I shouldn't have done.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah, why did I draw that?
No, actually, like I said, I'm pretty new to comics, so I've only got about 2 half series in me right now, and I'm pretty happy with like what I'm doing with Pat and the whole creative team. In my freelance illustration career, there were all kinds of jobs that I look back on that I should have never taken. But comics-wise, I'm pretty happy with what we've been doing. So.
Good. I mean, your Van Helsing, the art in Van Helsing is phenomenal. You do a great job in it. I love looking at it. It really brings the character to life. So, thank you for that.
I have the books on the side of me. Don't yell at me.
Pat.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
You know, there are certain books that people love that I think is my worst work. So I'm totally not going to save those books. But it always happens when I'm proofing a trade. I'm writing the script, it feels good. The issue gets to print, it feels good. And then when the trade goes on the print site and I'm copy editing, I'm like, oh, this book isn't that good. What's wrong with you guys? You know, why do you like this? But I'd say now, now that I'm pulling back on my titles and doing fewer books per month, I've got a better sense of what books I should take and which books I shouldn't. Ralph, who's going to be writing what going forward? And there are 2 books that I know in the past I would have specifically asked to write, and today I was like, no interest. You know, because I want to focus more on the books that I'm already writing to make sure that they're good. So I'd say that okay, I'll say I wish that Code Red were a lot better. I don't love it, but that's all, I guess.
That's fine. I mean, like I said, again, Code Red, I'm currently reading it right now, and it's a very enjoyable series, and I love Brittany. I think she's great, and kind of a lovable character, in my opinion.
I love Brittany when she's with Robyn. I just love that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I like issue 2 a lot. I like issue 2 and 3 a lot. The rest feels a little bit, I don't know. But I'm super glad that you like it too, though, because it's funny because sometimes the books that I'm super jazzed on, the reviews are terrible. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just an idiot. but and the books that I don't like that I do, the reviews are great. You know, so it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what people respond to. But thankfully, across the board, everything has been getting decently good reviews. So even the ones that I wish I took more time on, or that I wish I was able to do more revisions for, even those I'm super glad that we got to do it because people obviously care. So. Yeah.
Right. Meredith, how about you?
I only have one book published and one coming out right now, so really I have no regrets. I have to be honest, it's been a lot of fun. One of the things I really like about Zenescope is that I've gotten to write a really wide genre of stuff. So I went from the Cowardly Lion story to a swimsuit issue. Now I'm doing a Tale of Terror issue. So it's been a lot of fun to stretch my creative muscles and try things that I certainly wouldn't have imagined I would be doing, but I'm really proud. And I think Pat was my editor on the swimsuit issue, and I really tried to have a lot of fun with that. And I hope everybody enjoys it when it comes out, because I don't think it's what people will be expecting from a swimsuit issue. So I haven't got enough bad reviews yet to regret doing anything.
Good. When is the exact date release for the swimsuit issue?
Pat?
I'm opening the publishing schedule as we speak.
I'll
tell you this. This story is mostly for Meredith, because I wrote our last swimsuit issue. It came out in 2012, and there was one review from Comic Bastards, and it's my favorite review of all time. The review was, and I 100% quote, "Fap, fap, 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 fap." There's a fucking story here. Fap, 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 fap. So, and I was just, I think Ralph was mad, but I just laughed so much because it's such a fun issue, you know. Like, I had fun with my issue, and the script that Meredith turned in was so fun that all you can really do is laugh about it. You know, it's just a great, light, fun series that we do sometimes. Swimsuit 2014 comes out. It's on shelves July 9th.
Nice.
Right after 4th of July, it's a perfect time to have it released.
There we go. Oh, and I'll blow it up a little bit. That issue has, in the story, it has Robyn, Helsing, Sela, Red too? Red, yep. Right?
Yep.
Red, and a returning villain. So it's more than you'd expect from a swimsuit story. It's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
On board.
Larry, how about you? Any regrets on anything you've done previously?
Yeah, I think everybody looks back at or a lot of artists look back at their older work and just, I mean, I can't look at some of the stuff I did a couple of years ago. But you know, when you're kind of like going through the indie scene, you need to read your contracts. I think that's just the big thing. You really need to take a look at what you're doing and make sure you read the paperwork, because you can. I've been burnt a couple times. There was a comic book company, Insomnia Publications, back in 2009, maybe 2010, that got a bunch of creators pretty good. I think Jim Campbell was actually one of them as well. So.
All right. How about Jeff?
I've been around too long to have regrets, but I've been only at Zenescope for, what is it, Pat, 2 months now? So my only real regret is that that Toto, who is a giant wolf, is a giant gray wolf and not a giant brown wolf, because giant brown wolves would be so much easier to write for. But that's my only regret so far.
That's it.
Cool. So you get a little bit lesson in zoology too. Everything you get with Zenescope Comics. All right. I have a question for the whole panel. Also, Zenescope has, you play with a lot of the fairy tale characters, public domain characters. Each of you, which one out there now, like a public domain character, fairy tale character, would you like to introduce to the Zenescope universe? And I'm going to start with Jeff.
Beowulf.
One
and done. I'm done.
I would love.
I'm a medievalist by trade. Bringing Beowulf to comics would be in a reasonable form and not like all the other forms that it's shown up before would be pretty damn sweet.
I would buy it. I love Beowulf.
I would buy that, definitely.
Oh, good. Pat, you're listening, right?
So, Pat, you're on the hot seat right now. Beowulf. Let's make this happen.
I just sent Massey a secret message. I am not going to talk about Beowulf for like a year. But, hey, when the time comes, we'll see.
Okay. Larry, how about you? Any public domain character, fairy tale character that you would like to draw or, add into anything?
I wouldn't mind, like, the Leprechaun.
There we go.
But not like the
Leprechaun?
Public domain character.
Yeah, how would he be? Would he be the Leprechaun that you were thinking? Would you want to do like a gritty Leprechaun or one of those like Lucky Charm happy ones? Like which one? Like the movie?
He'd just be like.
I knew it was coming.
Like women running around.
Type that in the sidebar.
What's that?
I knew it was coming.
Oh.
I knew it was coming.
Like sidekick, he could hang out and say stupid stuff and kind of from all the boobs and butts,
Let's do it.
Pat, take all these notes down, Pat. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
Leprechauns, Beowulf.
Because I can see the Leprechaun.
Beowulf versus Leprechaun.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, put them in the same book.
Nice.
It's all happening.
It writes itself.
Is the best part.
This could be a big collaboration project. Meredith, how about you?
I've been sitting here thinking, what do I want to say about this? And the character that came to my mind would be Cruella de Vil, because we do all these heroes, and especially with the Disney's got that Maleficent movie, which looks fantastic coming out.
I agree.
And Wicked on Broadway was so great, and the villains just have so much more untapped history to talk about and to explore, and nobody has the same kind of preconceived notion, and she's just such a, I don't know, she's one of my favorite Disney villains, so. But I don't know if she's, like, open for that kind of thing, because I'm really not up on my legal logistics, so she might be totally Disney-owned and not out for the free market.
Maybe you can combine that with the Larrys and make it Cruella de Vil a Leprechaun.
Maybe. Or Beowulf.
100.
There you go.
And make them all
Yeah.
Make them all a team and put them together.
After this whole entire run is, over with, everyone talking about their favorite characters put in Zenescope, it's going to be a weird-looking person.
All right, I'm going to go to Tony next.
I've been trying to think of something, and I can't.
Come on, anything you want to draw. You got something in your head you want to draw.
Well, I've been watching Vikings a lot lately, and I think that'd be fun. Except that the Northlanders was so good when that came out, I wouldn't want to try to live up to that. So maybe Bigfoot might be fun.
Bigfoot versus the Leprechaun.
Well, the Vikings could actually cross over with Beowulf. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And Pat, how about you?
I have this pretty cool idea for a female Beowulf, actually.
It sounds familiar.
Cruella?
No, that's just to make Massey's blood boil.
Beowulf.
Beowulf, yes. Bringing in new characters. Grimm Fairy Tales number 101 is bringing in a bunch of new characters. So I'll say just check that one out. Some that have been talked about will eventually show up. There are leprechauns in Charmed Season 10, number 3. So if any Charmed fans are watching this, and I'm sure that you guys are because you are ravenously consuming details about this series, then there are leprechauns in an issue called Magically Malicious. So, yeah, there are things coming up that you might like. about leprechauns, but that's all I got.
I'm sure in 5 minutes from now on the Charmed wiki it'll be like season 10 of Charmed. There will be leprechauns.
I think so.
Kat, do you have a? I know you had a charm-related question.
I'll ask the charm. If you want to ask Jay, you can ask the charm one. I was gonna actually ask to the whole panel. What do you guys? Since Zenescope is such a big female-empowered company, what do you guys think about that? Are you guys happy about that? And what do you think about other companies like really suffering with that? Like Marvel, DC, they're trying to do the female protagonist stuff, and sometimes they fail at it. The Zenescope is doing such a wonderful job. So Jay, if you want to go down the line, you can. And also, you can ask the charm question too.
Yeah, DC's failing at more than just women. Just saying.
That's
Keep
true.
going.
That is true. But that's
we're
only
gonna
one.
start. We're gonna kick that off with Pat Shane.
Okay. I don't relate to men.
Thanks for that.
I relate exclusively to women. So when I'm writing, the voice inside of my head is that of a woman. So it's.
You really want to choose your wording with this, Pat, right now.
I could hear like Joss Whedon saying this also, so it's perfect.
It's thankful. I'm thankful that our cast is primarily female, because the only men that I'm able to successfully write are self-loathing pricks like Guy Gisborne. So I think it's I think that there's a misconception that Zenescope is exclusively cheesecake because of the convention covers that people see all the time. But when you look at the interiors and the stories that we're actually telling, that they're stories about characters, and the characters are taken very seriously. So I think that, say, the story of Robin Hood, Helsing, Dorothy, I think that these are important stories. And I think that our perspective and the fact that Zenescope hires more women than probably any company in comics, perhaps besides Boom. But Boom is doing great as far as hiring women and promoting equality in comics. And we are hopefully doing as well, because we've always hired, half of our staff is female, and I think that there's a misconception that we're just a bunch of dudes who watch football and drink beer and write comics, when I don't know what a touchdown means. So yeah, I think that increasingly people will see that the women in our comics are not only our cover girls, but are also our leads and the reason our company succeeds.
All right. Since Pat brought up the women that are being hired by Zenescope, Meredith, I'll go to you next.
Okay. I do think that a lot more women are reading comics now than ever before. And I have to give credit where credit is due. There are a lot more comic-based movies that are out there now that are drawing in a broader audience that then draw those people into comic book stores. And that's where with seeing titles that have females on the covers, drives female readership, and having a story that a female can relate to is going to be a different story than what a guy would necessarily relate to. And I think it's great that Zenescope is doing those kinds of stories in a way that allows women to be empowered. And I have to be honest, I think it's great that they're doing it with beautiful women, doing it with women that have, like Robyn, a disfigurement. They're really trying to hit a broader variety, or not your typical Marvel or DC superhero. And I like that. I like the fact that they gave me, the second book they gave me was a swimsuit issue. As a woman, I'm like, my first thought was, oh my God, what do I do with a swimsuit issue? And then I thought, well, I'm going to do it like I would have done it in college. What do college girls do on a beach? So, I think hopefully female writers are able to connect with male readership as well. But I think it's really important. Our next door neighbor's little girl comes over every month when Dave gets his comic books to see what he's got. And girls are much more inclined to be reading comics, and it's not that hide in a closet kind of thing anymore that it was 20 years ago. And I think Zenescope is doing a really great job of making comics accessible for women.
Yeah, I want to totally agree with that as a girl reading comics. And also a lot of my friends who don't read comics, because I have a lot of friends that don't, they're asking me, like, could we go to a comic book store and like pick up a comic and recommend some? Like, yes, totally. Let's like pick, like, oh, what do you like? And I think it's really great to see that. And I really do think it's because of the movies. And who cares if it's because of the movies? That's great. But yeah, I love seeing that.
That's just
also.
the gateway.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's just a gateway.
And now the TV shows also, Arrow, Constantine coming out, a lot of those shows are getting people into comic books. So it's great to see that. And Walking Dead too. So.
Hey guys, can I curse on this thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I feel compelled to say, because my Facebook is full of this, and I am the biggest geek ever, so I'll embrace that first. I hate these fucking nerds who complain about how much the popularity of the comic book movies and TV shows is introducing the masses to comic books and to bring a larger audience to the comic book convention. That's what I fucking want, okay? I want everyone to read comic books. I want people who are on the street to know who the Winter Soldier is. That's crazy that someone will know that the Winter Soldier exists, period. That's amazing. So I think that the less exclusive this industry is, the better it is. You know, so if you ever meet someone who is being bitchy about people and the largeness of comic book conventions and how widespread it is getting, just murder them or something.
I always say, I have a couple people who've said that to me, you know, oh, it's so, you know, it's so commercial now and all that. It's getting too public and all. I'm like, well, do you want it to be known and people to get into it, or do you want it to just disappear and die off like a dinosaur?
Well, and
you know, you gotta bring new life into this medium.
When I first met David, comic book sales were nosediving, and he was seriously considering what his next job was going to be.
Wow.
And if a movie or successful comic movies are able to give more people jobs in this industry and keep this industry afloat, then that's just not a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't know why so many people in the comic book community are like, oh, well, we don't want those type of people. We don't want them. Like, I think it's great. I love answering questions like, oh, how do I get into comics? How, as a new reader, can I get into it? I think those are the best questions. And recently, I was, like, in my college, and I had this Spider-Man case. And it's like, oh, you like superheroes. I love, the movies and everything. Who's your favorite character? And I'm like, oh, my favorite character is Spider-Girl, but I'm sure you don't know her. And she's like, no, I'm actually really starting to get into comics, and, like, I actually do know her. And I think that's really great to see that just the movies can do that. And Spider-Girl doesn't have a movie, and people are learning about that, so I think it's great.
I'm going to shoot over to Jeff with it. What's your opinion on it?
About the popularity of movies and the interaction with comic books, or about women in empowerment?
Both.
We seem to have shifted a tad.
Yeah.
Both. I'll take the first of those anyway. I again, as somebody who's been collecting comics since the 70s, there used to be a certain clout. It's very much a small crowd sort of effect where you either knew stuff and you were a geek and you got ostracized for it, and therefore anybody who didn't actually get ostracized for being in love with comic books didn't deserve to be in love with comic books. I think that shifted, and that's just natural. Popularities wane and ebb for all sorts of medium, including, once upon a time, Gothic fiction was verboten, and it was only for the fringe. When Frankenstein came out, the novel, nobody took it seriously. And now it's, God bless steampunk. Things shift. And I think we're simply in a time period right now where comic books is a medium that's gotten acceptance, and that's perfectly natural.
I agree with you on that. And how about the issue with the women at Zenescope Comics?
I'm all for it. So
in
I
a
give you
few
one
words,
one long, one short. That's the way I work.
Larry, how about you? What's your opinion on both subjects, if you want, or either or, whichever you want to choose?
You know, the on the topic about strong women in comics, that's really what drew me to the Robin Hood book. When I got the first script for issue 2, I was really surprised that it was actually a really tight tale of female empowerment, and showed it to my wife. She read it. She was pretty excited about it too. I felt like I feel like Robin's a special book, so that's one of the biggest reasons why I've been doing it for so long. So yeah, I think it's good.
All right. You want to weigh in on the movie or no?
I mean, it's good. I mean, the more that it's out there, hopefully the longer the market will succeed. I'd love to see some Zenescope movies, or the Zenescope cartoon. I think, or a Zenescope video game. I think that would be great, like a brawler with all the.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You'll be costing Chris more money. Chris will be paying more money for the video games.
I'd lose a lot of quarters on that game.
Tony. Oh, I'm sorry, Larry. You still want?
I just want to see it all plushies, toys, freaking.
Toys are not good either. I run into my podcast too.
So you can't create anything besides comics. That way, Chris doesn't have to buy.
This way I don't go poor. I'll go poor.
I need to see that video game.
I've got already 2 of the figures, and Mike's got the other 2 pre-ordered.
Tony.
Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. The strong women in comics and like the kind of crossover appeal from the movies and everything. I don't know. I think it all just kind of goes into telling good stories and making it accessible. And none of my friends, well, almost none of my friends read comics. And being able to like hand them something and say, oh, this is kind of cool, something you might want to check out. But whatever kind of gets people in there and realize that there's more than there is more than just superheroes. There's more than just that male adolescent power fantasy that I think people tend to kind of think of as comics. And knowing that there's a whole range of genres out there, there's kind of something for everybody. And yeah, I think if it takes movies to get people into a comic book store to realize that there's all kinds of stuff out there, then yeah, that's great. And with the Zenescope books, when I first heard about them and I saw the covers, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. And I opened up a couple and I read them and I got the scripts, and I thought they're really good. And all the people that I met that are into Zenescope comics at signings are typically women who tell me that they think that the women characters are really strong. And so yeah, so I think it's great. And like I said, it's the more people you can reach and the better stories you can tell. I'm all for that. So I can't imagine anybody wouldn't be, really. But.
All right, I have a question for Pat. I'm a fan of Charmed. You're working on Charmed Season 10. Charmed Season 9 ended with Prue becoming the keeper of the Nexus in the Charmed universe. Yes. Is there any... and you have Steela, who's the keeper of the Nexus in the Grimm universe. Is there any way that Charm's going to kind of play into the bigger Grimm universe, or is it going to stay in its own television universe?
Oh no, it's definitely going to stay in its own universe. There's no chance for a crossover whatsoever there. Okay. Hey, cute cat, Meredith.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice cat.
I don't even notice you can see my cat in the picture here. Have a night.
Yeah, about the whole Nexus thing, I think that Nexus is a very general term that fantasy universes kind of pick up on and use to mean a very specific thing. And in Charmed, it means a very specific thing. In the Grimm universe, it means more. The Grimm universe Nexus is Earth. So Steela's entire job is to protect Earth. Prue's job is a lot more specific and grounded. And Yeah, there's no chance for crossover because we're lucky enough to get even season 10. Season 9 lasted 24 issues, which is longer than any of our books besides Grimm itself and Wonderland. So to be able to do season 10 for at least 24 more issues is I'm just stoked to be able to do that. So I think that's probably as far as we're gonna go with Charmed for now.
Okay, I just wanted to know that because I was like, I could see you, trying to put them together by using the Nexus, and I just wanted to see where was going on with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Cindy?
I think that it'll be fun. It would definitely be fun. I don't think that CBS would like that so much. But
yeah. But it would be interesting to see them.
Oh yeah.
Cindy or Chris, either of you have a question that you want to ask anyone on the panel?
Cindy had one.
Okay.
And then I actually have one also.
This one is for Pat. How do you come up with a new title for a book? Is it based on like the children fairy tales and then just customized?
Or is it creator like based?
Yeah.
I always ask Larry Watts. No, I mean, it's hard to answer. Like every time, it's different. For Unleashed, I got a phone call from Raven, and he goes, "It's called Unleashed," and I was like, "Okay."
Go with it.
With Ascension, I was like, should I call it Paradise Lost? Should I tie it into the whole like God religious thing and call it Revelation? And I eventually settled on Ascension, and I'm pleased with it. Someone's like Code Red. Joe just has the idea for a long time, and other times it's as simple as the character's name, like Helsing or Robin Hood. With Warlord of Oz, it's the villain's name. With Tales of Terror, they're tales that will be terrifying. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible, just because those are the other titles that sell best. Yeah.
And then I actually have a question for anyone who's involved, because right now we're only getting this page. At the end of all the Zenescope books right now, there's a nice advertisement for Realm War, which is coming out after Grimm Fairy Tales 100, and it's playing out for an entire year. What can, Pat, you or anybody who's involved in the project thus far tell us about it?
Once upon a time, I was the editor on the book, but I stepped down during issue 1 because it's just such a massive commitment that I felt that Nicole Glade, who's in the office, will be better suited for it, because I'm also writing, and to be editing that massive of an event would take away a lot of time. And but I know the story. I've talked to Joe about it. It's and I would be loath to be fired by not mentioning it here. It's our big book right now. If you like what's going on in the Age of Darkness storyline, and particularly what happens in Grimm 100, that is the place to go. It has one of our top artists, Sammy Cavella. He drew Hit List, and he drew the Inferno one-shot. He's a great artist, and he'll be drawing all 12 issues. It's written by Joe Brusher, who co-created Grimm Fairy Tales with Ralph. It's the climax of everything that we've been doing thus far. The climax of the Realm Knight storyline, of the Age of Darkness storyline, of all of these different threats, the Dark Queen, Cindy, the Dark Horde, everything comes to a head in this one series. And it's playing out for an entire year. There will be a few select tie-ins. Not going to talk about those ones yet, but they'll be limited to a few 3-issue miniseries, because we want our universe to move on and not have Realm War just bogging it down. So the tie-ins to Realm War will only be happening one at a time. So if you like Realm War, you'll have Realm War and probably a few other minis, one by one.
Okay. Awesome. And Cindy, actually have one more question.
This is for the artists. How much work is actually done by hand, and how much is done by the computers?
And I'll start with Tony for this.
All right. Well, I do kind of like a split thing with between digital and traditional. So I do all my layouts by hand, just because it's easier for me to think that way. And then I'll do the pencils in Manga Studio, and they're basically just glorified layouts. The Manga Studio, you can do you do your panel borders, and the most important thing in there is that it has all the perspective grids. So I've got all my perspective grids. I work out figures, and it's just easier to edit digitally. Then I print out the boards at full size, which is 11 by 17, and then I ink everything traditionally. So I probably like a 30-70 split, digital to traditional.
All right.
And deadline desk right behind me. So.
No, go ahead. What was you saying, Tony?
Oh, I just see my Massey deadline desk right behind me, and my deadline beard.
Larry, how about you?
I would consider it all done by hand, just because it's, if I'm drawing on screen, it's still my hand drawing on screen. But depending on what's going on with my schedule, I do some stuff all digitally. Some stuff I do start on the computer and then finish it out in traditional inks. If I'm traveling a lot, I'm kind of forced to move digitally. But either way, it's always just my hand.
All right, cool. Let's see. Mike, Spider Slayer, you have a question?
One question, real quick. I don't know who can. Maybe Pat probably answers the best. For Zenescope Entertainment, what has been the best-selling series? I would say besides Grimm Fairy Tale series. What's like the second favorite one?
There are a couple of ways to answer that. Our best single-selling issue is probably Wonderland #1, with Oz #1 coming in after that.
Really?
Yeah. During Robin Hood Wanted, that was the top-selling book. Robin Hood always sells very well. The Robin Hood versus Red one-shot sold very well. So it's pretty much usually Oz, Wonderland, and Robin kind of going back and forth.
Gotcha. That's pretty awesome. My prediction was the Wonderland series because I've always seen like it's had a huge following.
Oh yeah.
All right. A question for Tony. What's the biggest difference for you between Asylum and Helsing?
Well, they're very different books in terms of like what's happening.
Yes.
Asylum had a lot of different things you could kind of throw in there. Like she's fighting the Dark Cheshire Cat, and with a lot more kind of absurdist kind of stuff in it. I kind of tackle it both the same way. Kind of draw them similar. Helsing's a little bit more up my alley, I think, with some of the cityscapes and locations are more fun for me to draw. I enjoy them both. I wish I had a more intelligent answer to give you, but just basically just in terms of the things that you're asked to draw. Like I said, I just approach it and try to tell the story the best I can.
All right. Let's see. Kat, do you have a question for anyone?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Pat. Since there's such a big following with Charmed, how is that? Is it overwhelming? Just because of the big following, and how's that whole experience?
I'll say this. I was very, very prepared for it. I got the gig to write Charmed before I even got the gig to write Robin Hood. It's been in the works for 2.5 years. So Paul Roditis, who actually wrote season 9 and is editing season 10 with me, he prepped me and told me what to be prepared for. You know, when to get the bulletproof vest out and stuff. So I've been very prepared for it, and it's just kind of awesome to see how much people care. That the very day that I'm announced, so someone's like, "So are we getting Prue and Cole together? Are we? Maybe really? Are we? Please?" Like the day I'm announced, they're like, "Oh yeah, season 10's happening! Yay!" It's like, I want this now. Give it to me. You know. Yeah. So it's like that intensity is just so awesome that people care that much. That I'll be writing something that people will tear through and then write a wiki about. It is just fascinating, and I love it. So I'm so ready.
I have a little Charm side question. I just wanted to know, because I read season 9, and I actually like Shannon Dottery as Prue. Is there a legal reason why you didn't use Zenescope didn't use her likeness for the character, or was it just they just wanted to do something completely different?
There could not be a bigger legal reason than there is. It's it's never going to happen because of law.
Of their drama.
Yes. We just can't do it.
I just want to know if it was like, you know, a story-driven thing, or was it a legal thing? That's all I was
No. Let me tell you, it's very cool to have the drama of their sister being in a very different body, looks nothing like her. They have to deal with the idea that this is their sister, even though it looks nothing like her. But however, if we can get her in Shannon Doherty's body, I'd be down for that issue 1. But if we publish this series until I die, it would still never happen. Not there.
All right. I was just always curious about that. Was it like a legal reason with not using her likeness or something?
Yeah, I actually have one question, and I actually have 2. It's a pre-imposed Zenescope, and it's from Meredith, actually. Pre-Zenescope, I was wondering what it was like having a husband who was into comic books before actually doing comic books.
When I first met David and he told me he was doing comics, I said to him, like in the newspaper, because I had no idea what comics were. And he said, no, this was our first date. He's like, I've got a couple in the trunk of my car I can show you. And he gave me, just by chance, he had a couple in the trunk of his car. He gave me the Avengers Disassembled comic, where She-Hulk is ripping somebody apart, and I thought to myself, he seems like such a nice guy. On a second date. And I will say, it's hard not to love comics when you're so immersed. Like they're everywhere in my house. We get the huge box every month of DC's entire line. Like I ship them out to everybody. I've got Wizards that he saved from back when he was at Image Days.
Oh my God!
It's definitely a lifestyle change. I will say this. I was always a fantasy reader, so in that sense, I guess comics is not such a big leap. So, superheroes. It's been a lot of fun, and my kids, who doesn't love a dad that can draw Spider-Man?
And
Chris, real quick before I just want a side question on your question there. Meredith, do you have now that you're kind of into comic books now, do you have a favorite character?
My favorite character is always whatever character Dave is working on. Mostly because I get so immersed into it. And, you know, I think it's been a long time since he's drawn. Like, he did Batman, he did Moon Knight. Those single character books, he just, I think, does a really good job of bringing himself into the character. So I'm always drawn to whatever character it is he's drawing because it's him on the page.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's a great answer.
And my post question was, after the swimsuit issue for Zenescope, are we going to be seeing more work by you at Zenescope, or are we going to be seeing more work from you elsewhere?
You're definitely going to see. I'll keep writing for Zenescope as long as they'll keep giving me scripts to do. So I'm definitely doing that Tales of Terror issue 3, and I'm hopeful that this will. I think, like everybody who's a writer in the business, I'm hopeful that this will continue and I'll be able to write other stuff. But I do really love the fact that Zenescope has given me such a variety of things to try my hand at. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've had this much fun doing a job. So thank you to Raven and to Ralph and to Pat for that, and giving me the opportunity.
The baby smiled at that. Oh, hi, Mike. Mike's here.
Oh.
So another edition of the panel.
I do have a question about Tales of Terror, and this could be to anyone who's working on it, because there are a few of you that are working on it on the panel. You want to give a general idea of what that is? I mean, the title alone sends images into our heads of what's going to be. Is there any thing you want to elaborate on it?
Yeah.
Pat? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Tales of Terror. It's kind of goes back to the roots of Grimm fairy tales. When the series first came out, each issue was a standalone horror story, and we're doing that again in a sort of kind of Tales of the Crypt creep show kind of way, where our Grim Reaper character Carries, she is the storyteller, and there's a framing story, and each issue is a one-and-done horror story. Some of them are retellings, like, for instance, issue 1 is a very strange version of Telltale Heart. And so far, we're working with a lot of urban legends, some Poe, some Hawthorne, but as we go on, we'll also be telling some original stories too. And I do want to stress, though, it's the same thing that we're doing with our Grimm Universe line, where we're not doing adaptations. We're taking the very core, very overarching basic concept, and then just changing everything and sort of pulling out the rug from what you'd expect from an adaptation.
That's cool. Meredith, you're doing issue 3. Can you give us any spoilers on what the idea of the story is, or any clue, any little thing you can say about it, or just hush hush?
Here's what I'll say. It's a common urban legend around university campuses, and when I read the synopsis today, I thought, that's brilliant. I never would have come up with that in a million years, and it's such a unique, unusual twist to it.
All right, now you just have me wanting to know more.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea.
You did the perfect thing, because now I just really want to know what the urban legend is.
It's like a little cliffhanger.
And with Jay, he will be searching on the internet all night, trying to figure out college legends. Let's see.
No, I know a lot of urban legends. I'm a big myth urban legend person, so that stuff just really appeals to me.
When Teen Wolf ended, you were searching who is this? Who is this?
I'm a big Teen Wolf.
You make fun of me for watching ghost stories, yeah, huh?
Teen Wolf is better, but that's a whole different story.
I have a question for the artists on the panel. Some artists have a tendency to sneak in certain little things that they want to do in every book, like, you know, maybe something in the background or something, or, you know, make someone, or maybe work in a pattern that kind of spells stuff or anything like that, you know. Is there anything that either of you have done that's like, you know, you just work something into something just for the fun of it, like, oh, let's see if anyone sees this little thing here, and I'll start with Larry.
One thing I kind of like to do is like background people. I'll put like my friends in there, sort of as like a little nod to people I know. And, you know, they usually get a kick out of it if they see it. And I think in issue 2, I drew my cat in the background. So that was another one of those little Easter eggy type things. Yeah, I don't know. I tried to do some sort of like visual storytelling, you know, like lead the eye around. But like in, I think, issue 5 of Wanted, instead of showing Prince John dying, I just drew his crown hitting the floor. I don't know, like, stuff like that. I kind of try to throw in there as much as I can think of it.
That's cool. How about you, Tony?
Yeah, I think kind of like what Larry does, where you throw your friends into books. There's a panel in Helsing 1, I think, where she's going on the cupcake date.
Yeah.
There's a couple of degenerates drinking in a bar right outside the door, and those are a couple friends of mine.
That's to know you're friends with degenerates.
Well, I drew them as degenerates. I wouldn't call them degenerates in public.
Nice save.
But yeah, like one of them texted me when I was working, and I was like, oh, I'm going to throw you in a comic. So one of the guys is Ukrainian, so I put him in like a little Russian, almost like bear outfit, the furry hat and everything. And yeah, just like a little stuff with like background characters, I think typically is stuff that I might try to sneak in as thrown into. Drawing comics is hard, so if you can kind of make it fun for yourself, yeah, I'll just throw little things like background characters, and maybe same thing with in that Helsing shot when she was in New York. I threw in a bar that I had been at a little bit late one night, and yeah, little things like it's more for me, just to keep me interested after 10 or 12 hours.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's neat.
Yeah, I want to switch it a little and skew it to the writers. Have you ever written something in a book as a nod to a friend, like, you know, a characterization or a name or anything like that that is, you know, you were aiming towards a certain person in your life or an event or anything like that? And I'll start with Jeff.
Sure. A lot of my jokes are reasonably esoteric. Maybe some people get them, maybe some people don't. I'm pretty sure that 3 of my friends get at least one joke in Warlord #1 this time around. Some of them, you know, if you just know a little bit of pop culture, you're probably going to catch a few of my jokes. I'm very fond of science fiction. Sometimes stupid jokes float around in my scripts for no reason. Pat got used to that in my classes, I believe. I like pop culture references. Yes. It's coming up on the side screen, apparently. Nerd. I'm not afraid to share that one. I wear it on my sleeve. So, yeah, but those kinds of shout-outs gotta go around. Actually, a really quick plug that's not Zenescope. I recently co-wrote a book about Monty Python, and there's a joke for every one of my friends hidden in there somewhere that I don't think anybody but the 5 of us is going to get. So, yeah, you do that. That's what you do. Like you say, 12 hours in, you keep yourself sane. You make something funny for yourself.
Meredith.
I would say that definitely, as I go along, I have stories that I want to tell that will be reflective of experiences that I've had with my friends. But again, I'm 2 issues in, so I wouldn't say that anything right now. And I've gotten some pretty structured stories from Zenescope. So No, I wouldn't say right now that there's anything, but I think that every writer, when you put something on the page, you put part of yourself on there. So in that sense, the characters are always a reflection, like they are for an artist, of who you are as a writer.
Great answer. And finally, Pat.
Yeah, so much so to the point where Ralph will yell at me. He realized recently that every agent who works for Hylo Corp has one of my friend's last names. You know, people that I know are in the books, names of locations, people. Just because sometimes I have 3 scripts to write and I have to name a prominent city in Myst, and I pop onto Facebook and I'm like, oh, this city is named Massey. You know, something like that. I see whose last name is there. I'm like, oh, this character is going to be named Agent Watts.
All right, Kat, you have any questions?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, if you guys are reading any current comic books, what's your favorite? It could be a Zenescope book, or it could be like anything. So down the line, Jay, if you want to pick everybody.
All right, we're going to start with Tony on this one.
I just picked up Southern Bastards. And that was pretty great. I'm a big fan Jason Latour as an artist, and yeah, anything Sean Murphy does, I'll pick up. Raphael Albuquerque. Yeah, I do typically tend to follow artists. I like Scott Snyder a lot, and like I said, since I just started working for him, I'm picking up some of the Zenescope books and checking them out, and I like them too.
Meredith.
Well, I really love Forever Evil. So I guess that's what I'm reading right now.
Just one thing I want to say about Forever Evil, to anyone who's out there, do not look at that final page until you read the whole issue.
Or don't look at it at all. Just don't look at it, because it's not.
Don't look at it. You have to look at it to read it.
A lot of people like to flip through a book before they pick it up.
Don't even look at it.
Don't read that final page. It will ruin it for you.
I still haven't read it yet.
Don't turn to the. Don't skim through it. Just
don't look at it. Just forget the last page exists.
I didn't mean to start anything.
It's all right. We always get like this, so.
You
just say any word and we'll start on something. How about you, Larry?
I'm reading East of West right now.
Oh wow.
That's an interesting title.
Oh man, it's really is. Across the board, writing's good, the art's great. Trying to think, Rocket Girl, Amy Reeder, and Brandon
Montclair.
Okay, yeah, book's great. I'm trying to think. I mean, the usual stuff: Saga, Hawkeye, Young Avengers. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Alright, and the comic nerd, the self-confessed comic nerd, Jeff.
Oh, I think comics are now a dead medium. I don't read them at all. I think all of you are wasting your time terribly. You should just really watch more TV. That's where it's at. I think that's going to
watch more Dora the Explorer.
TV's really going to catch on soon.
Nah, I think that's a little fad. That's going to come and go.
Hey, nice one. That's by Shane, right?
It is. Actually, I was quite impressed. I like the Tooth Fairy quite a lot. Sorry.
That was my first Grimm Fairy Tales issue, and
that was a good one.
That was a good way to jump into Grimm Fairy.
It was. I was surprised it was such like a new reader-friendly issue.
It's really good how she was integrated into the universe, though.
Absolutely.
You would never think that the Tooth Fairy would be, you know. And like, how are they going to be in the Grimm universe? And it was just perfect the way she was introduced, you know. And she's really not a bad person, so I was happy about that.
No, I think it really, I think that's a great character for Zenescope. I think that says a lot about the way they integrate known ideas into their very weird universe. It worked very well for me.
Pat. what are you currently reading, other than a stack of pile of books that you showed on Facebook?
Yes.
That you never read?
I've actually had the pleasure recently. I've been introducing my girlfriend, who's sitting on the floor over here, to a lot of great comics, and we've been enjoying Rachel Rising together and Sex Criminals recently. Books that I've been reading before that. Hawkeye, a lot of Matt Fraction. I'm reading Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. I'm being told to read Think Tank by Hawkins. And yeah, Matt Hawkins came by the booth in Calgary and gave me a handload of Think Tank issues. So I'll be reading Think Tank. And actually, I read a bunch of Zenescope books every day because I'm always grouping and whatnot. And I'm always pleased to read what the new writers are doing, because for a while it felt like it was just me, Raven, Ralph, and Joe doing it, and now we have Meredith, who did an awesome issue of Oz, and her swimsuit script was awesome, and Jeff's Warlord script, and now I've read 2 full issues, just really good stuff. So I'm just kind of enamored by all these awesome folks, and I feel like we're almost in a renaissance of comic book writing, because in comic book art too, because you have Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. They just came off an awesome Young Avengers run, and they're starting the Wicked and the Divine. It's a great time to be doing this.
I'm not going to touch the Young Avengers.
You don't want to even think about Young Avengers anymore.
Michael Duderock18 just came onto the panel on Chris's side. Is there any question you would like to ask anyone, Michael?
Who wasn't prepared to be on because he just got over.
I know, but
well, I mostly have comments more than question, basically.
Because we've already answered them.
Right.
We've already whispered.
First of all, I just want to say to Patrick Shan, I have read the Robin Hood Volume 3, and I've just started reading Code Red, and
he wants a figure.
Yeah, I mean, are you gonna
If this could be a figure, he wants a Robin Hood one.
Yeah, are you gonna develop or make a Robin Hood figure? Because I will seriously buy one.
I would like to buy one myself. If you comment on the Zenescope Facebook page every day, figure, maybe. I would love that. I would love a Robin. I would love the Helsing.
Yeah, and I have to admit though, it was amazing also to see her in Code Red. Also,
he just finished reading
with
the whole Code
Red, and I mean, the Zenescope comic books, I really enjoy them. Even the artwork is so amazing. I just look forward to reading them each and every time, and I just want to say you guys do an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to see more of your work.
Well, there's 2 artists.
Yeah, and everybody. This is everybody in the room.
Okay.
I really enjoy your stuff, and can't wait to read more of them.
Thank you. We love watching your reviews. You've been supporting us for a long time, and we always look forward to the things that you guys have to say, because you're always very kind and enthusiastic and awesome. So thank you.
And Pat's still waiting for us to give him a bad review on something.
Oh yeah, please.
But there's nothing bad about this comic. I'm being honest. It's just really amazing. I read Fly the Fall, and I'm, the 2nd volume, and I'm really looking forward to reading the 3rd volume.
If there's
going to be a 3rd volume, it's the cliffhanger is just amazing, and it makes me look forward to know what's going to happen next. It's just that amazing.
All right. For the comic Frontline people, does anyone else have anything they want to ask anyone on the panel?
Just want to say thank you for everyone that's came on and
absolutely
kept up the great work.
All right. With that, I'm going to start closing out. We're going to start with Jeff. Anything you want to promote, get out there, Zenescope-wise, non-Zenescope-wise, anything you want to promote for yourself?
Oh, really? Non-Zenescope? Pat, I'm allowed to do that?
Well, it's just for you. I mean, Pat won't say anything. Pat's looking at something else.
This is also my book. Buy this book, too. I don't know. That's all I got.
Okay. Larry, anything you want to promote for yourself? Zenescope and all?
I urge everyone to check out previews next week. We got a big announcement coming up. And, you know, just keep checking out Robin Hood. Legend's going to blow your mind. And, yeah, that's about it. Previews next week.
Awesome.
Okay. Meredith, how about you?
Buy my swimsuit issue, Grimm's Fairy Tales. It's coming out, I think Pat said July 9th. And look for the Tales for Terror issue 3. And thank you to Zenescope for, again, giving me the opportunity to write some awesome stories.
And I'm going to be checking out for Tales of Terror 3. I'm looking forward to that now. Tony.
Yeah, Helsing's halfway through, so yeah, it's the last 2 issues. I think each one keeps getting better than the one that was before it. So yeah, let's check that out. That's about it, comics-wise. So. And thanks to you guys for having us on, too. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Pat.
I guess I'll stress to you guys and to the audience that comic books live and die off of pre-orders. Kieran Gillen recently posted a blog on his Tumblr that it was a funny photo comic of him walking into a store and pre-ordering a comic. And it's true that we love all of our fans who come in and they have their pull list and they buy every month. But if there's a new book for the books and previews now, like Grimm 100 and GFT vs. Wonderland, if you want those books to sell, go to your shop and say, I want these books. Please pre-order for me. And then next week, when something new comes out in previews, I can't talk about yet, please go into your comic shop and say, I would like to pre-order this comic book, number 1, ongoing. Yeah, please pre-order all of our books, and thank you guys for supporting us because you're very, very awesome.
I just want to say, personally, my comic book shop knows anything that comes out from Zenescope goes onto my list. So I don't even have to tell them what's coming out. If they see a Zenescope product, it goes into my list.
Thank you.
Tom got used to me buying all the Zenescope stuff because every time it comes out, it apparently just appears in my shopping cart every week. So. They know about my new show. That's why the Zenescope recap at the end of the month. They know they have to give me everything, or else.
That's Chris' plug for his Zenescope show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. We're going to start the Frontline goodbyes. Chris? I'll start with you guys. Okay.
Later, and Zenescope forever.
Why do you... He always does something wacky.
Well,
You're always wacky.
they're awesome people.
I know they are, but do you have to?
Take care, everybody.
Jay made that picture now.
Oh, don't you dare. Just do not go there.
There are Laurel and Hardy. Kat.
Are we supposed to say stuff that's going on, or are we just saying goodbye?
No, just saying like goodbye, thank yous, or whatever. Goodbye, thank you, whatever. Like that.
Thank you guys for coming on. You know, this is awesome, and yeah, awesome panels. So I'm looking forward to all the new titles coming out.
Add to ours then, since JD can tell us about that. Thank you all for coming on, and we hope to have all of you back individually or as a group again.
Yes, absolutely.
Mike Spider Slider.
Yeah, guys, again, thank you for coming on the show. It means a lot to us. I know you guys are really, really busy. I personally have been reading Zenescope comics since about 2008. For me, it started from Grimm Fairy Tales, you know, first trade, second trade, and I've seen the series totally develop from concept all the way up until now, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And to see where the universe has actually gone from, you know, from point A to point B and how much is expanded. And to have all you guys work with the company, and it's fantastic. It means that the company is growing and there's great things there. And again, I appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
I would like to also thank everyone for being on here. I look forward to all your books coming out, and we hope to do this again with each and every one of you. Maybe, if not a panel like this, we'll give you some interviews for the written site as well. And with that, I'm going to close out the Zenescope panel for Comic Frontline, and this is the waving part of the show.
And we just wave goodbye, so.
I made this
Okay.
up.
This wave.
All right, later, everybody.
There you go. A tradition.